Finally meeting my 29M online girlfriend, 29F. After years of talking, it's not going well. Context. A couple years ago, I, 29M, met a girl, 29F, through an online circle. We talked frequently, and it was always a great time. She's very passionate about a lot of the same things I am, and is very career-driven, which is something I'm looking for. Early last year, she opened up about having feelings for me, which I was receptive to. We started spending more time online together, and eventually it got to a point where she would be telling her coworkers and family members about her boyfriend. This didn't bother me too much. I'm very interested, but for me I had to meet her to seal that deal. Fast forward to Christmas, and my gift to her was going to be a trip up to meet her, USA to Canada. Trip was very expensive, but worth it. We had talked about me going to meet her a few times. Thought it was better that way as she has a lot of anxiety, very important for later, and health issues that would make it much harder for her, especially in this current political climate. Well, that trip happened this weekend. I'm currently typing this out from my hotel room, which I've spent the vast majority of my time here alone in. Context TLDR. Met a girl online, developed feelings, great match for each other. She lives in Canada, and me, the US. For Christmas, I set up a trip to come see her. She has terrible anxiety issues. The main issue, the trip to see her started off how I expected. I don't know this city at all. It's a country I've only been to a few times, and I was nervous myself. Took a 40-minute Uber to my hotel, and expected by the time I got there that she would have worked out her nerves and be ready to meet me. Unfortunately, her anxiety was extra bad, and it took her another 2 hours to work up the courage to drive 5 minutes to come see me. This didn't bother me at the time. I knew it'd be rough, and I'm a patient dude for the most part. We met. She was shaking and bawling her eyes out, but overall it was great. Some hugs, and we drove to her place. She lives with her brother, so I was able to meet him, and we chilled out for a little while. Her anxiety was still through the roof, though, so we didn't actually do much for the next couple of hours. She wanted to drive around and show me some stuff, but couldn't. Eventually, she decided I should probably Uber back instead of her driving me. Next morning, I was up extra early. She usually works nights, so I figured she wouldn't be up for a bit. Not knowing the city, I chose to stay in and wait till she was awake. For hours later, she messages me. We talk for a bit, and she tells me she's not quite ready to see me as the nerves are still there. That's fine. I found a drugstore in walking distance I can pick some stuff up at, and get us some food at a local spot before meeting up. Fast forward about 2 hours later, and I finally get back to her place. She doesn't eat anything and tells me her brother, her, and myself are going to go to a get-together and hang out with a bunch of their friends. That's cool. I ask her how long we'll be there, and she said a few hours. We leave. It's about an hour drive. Every one of her friends were great, super welcoming, and she seemed really happy to introduce me as her boyfriend. Little party lasts a good portion of the night. We don't talk much as I'm usually getting bounded by her friends, or she's playing a game or something. It's around 10 when we go to leave. Still plenty of night left, I figured. She tends to be up till 3 or 4 in the morning, so I was pretty pumped to get to spend the rest of the night together. However, as we get in the car, she asks her brother if it's cool that she takes me to the hotel before they go home. He says, yeah, and I just get to sit in shock the whole way back, that she's too drained to spend a couple of hours of quality time with her boyfriend she just met. At this point, it's all starting to catch up to me, and I'm feeling pretty bad. I get back to the hotel room, and I'm just confused by this whole trip. I'm alone in a hotel room, in a country I don't know, with my girlfriend a few minutes away, not knowing what to do. What the hell is going on? I fear messaging her about it is going to make her anxiety worse, but at this point I don't know what to do. I'm set to meet her mom in the evening for dinner, and at this point I feel like I've met everyone except for my girlfriend. So I message her that. She's very apologetic, saying her anxiety is through the roof still, and she wanted to make this trip worth it for me, but she's just drained. She makes an effort to let me know she is still very interested and everything, but she knows if we're alone together that nothing would happen because she's just too nervous. She hasn't been in a relationship in a couple of years, so it's hard for her. I tell her I don't even want to try anything intimate if that was her fear. I've barely hugged her this trip, and there's a lot more steps in that process before anything like that could happen. I just want to spend some quality time together. She said tomorrow, after I meet her mom, there will probably be time. All that said, today is my last day here. I leave early tomorrow morning on a flight. I feel like this whole thing has been a waste, and I'm still just confused. I wanted to spend quality time with her, not sit on a hotel room alone for most of my trip. In my mind, she would want to be with me every waking moment of this trip. Our time is so short. We've talked about it for ages, like that was going to be the case. I don't know if the relationship can last after this. TLDR, planned a trip to meet up with my online girlfriend. Trip finally happens, but her major anxiety issues have made it, so I'm spending most of my time alone in a hotel in another country instead of with her. Every time we go to hang out, I'm just meeting someone new instead of spending quality time with her. I feel like I've met everyone here except for her. She still seems super invested in the relationship, but I just feel confused and a little heartbroken. I'll update after we see how this last day goes. Update 1. Yesterday morning I woke up, made the original post, and waited nervously for her to wake up. It once again took a couple of hours. A little after noon, she finally messaged me. She said we had dinner in the later afternoon with her mother, and I could Uber over to her place whenever. A few of you suggested I should just call off the dinner plans, but I decided to stick it through. I went up to her place shortly after that, and we spent some time watching things. She was having a better day, so we sat close, and while we didn't do anything, brother was in the small house. It was some quality time I had been looking for. Dinner with her mother was great. We connected well, and she seemed to be genuinely excited for me and her daughter. We left with a hug from her mom and went back to her place. It was a lot more of the same thing as before, so while it wasn't alone time with her, it did feel more on-one, and we had a good time. Was it exactly what I was expecting on the last day of this trip? Not really, but was it nice? Definitely. It was getting late, and I was half expecting her to want me to Uber back, but she drove me herself. She helped me confirm my packing for the flight early this morning, and we ended with a kiss. We got to texting a bit, and we realized she hadn't taken a photo of us for a frame she had bought. I was pretty sad that we hadn't, and the few pictures of us from that weekend didn't really fit the vibe she was going for. I mentioned that I should just Uber back. 10 minutes later, waiting for a response, and she tells me to come down. Anxiety be damned, she did drive back just for the photo and another goodbye smooch. So, overall, it wasn't the perfect weekend, but I'm going to stay cautiously optimistic. I think it was a mistake to not make the trip longer, and think that would have helped even more. We'll see how things go when she has to decide if she wants to make the solo trip down here for an event closer to this summer. To clear some things up, she is on medication and goes to a therapist, though her current therapist is very new to her. Normally, I wouldn't be into a LDR, but our likes and interests align well, and it's something I've struggled to find around me back home. My last relationship was decently long and taught me that was something I valued a lot. Thanks for all the comments on the other post. I imagine interest for another update will wane by the time the next trip happens, in about 2 months, but that is the time where things will really be make or break. TLDR. Last day went decently well. Her mother was lovely, and I could tell she was trying to make a bit more of an effort. We are still planning to meet again for an event by me in the coming months. That'll be make or break. Thanks again. Final update. The last 2 months. Things seem to be going really well post first trip. She opened up a bit more about the meetup and was very apologetic about the whole thing. We spent the next couple of weeks in calls and video chatting, doing what we love together. Things were great, but something was missing. A piece of the relationship, something intimate and playful, seemed to have faded. This was her call. She decided that she should be less flirty and sexual online until she can express that the same in person. I respected that. I believed it just needed time, and I've always been committed to working through things together. Unfortunately, that's where things started to spiral. One thing about her is that she's very independent, and that often came across as distant, uncaring. There's some days where she chooses to not interact with me, ignore my messages, or get short when I try to be affectionate and caring. Usually, this only happens when she's having a rough day, understandable. Unfortunately, a week ago, she was having one of those terrible weeks. In my head, a relationship should be one of comfort, relief, but while I tried to help her through it, she lashed out and started being distant. I tried to comfort her, but it was met with a coldness I couldn't understand. I had to guess how she was feeling and was left in the dark a lot. I made the, in hindsight, wrong choice of opening up about how I didn't understand and how I just wanted to be someone she could lean on, about how it made me feel awful I couldn't support her. I felt shut out so often. This turned into a lot of messages about how we felt about relationships in general and the changes ours would need to take. It focused on how we care about each other a lot, but she has her anxiety and independent healing she has to work on, and how I have to give her more space and care less. The main villain, as was the culprit of the first meeting, was her anxiety. It's ruining her life in more ways than just our relationship. She's struggling everywhere, so her number one priority was to get in a better spot with that, then work on us. This was a great compromise, and I was excited for the next step in the relationship. I would continue to give her time and space, to wait for someone I think is a one-of-a-kind worth it, and she would get to the place where she believes that too about herself. And finally now, I boarded the plane with a lot of hope. Things were good after a few days of us getting back on track. But as I landed, I got a short, heartbreaking message from her. She said she's not in a healthy enough spot to make this relationship work for either of us. That after some reflection, her problems are so bad that she needs to step away and work on them. She doesn't think she'd be able to handle the trip we'd planned and would be ruining another critical point in our relationship. The part that hurts the most isn't the time I've given her, the financial, emotional, or physical pain, or the fact this came out of the blue at the worst time. What hurts the most is it feels like she went from telling me how I was going to be her future to her basically treating me like an acquaintance. The last few days have been so tough. We talked for a little while. That first day, her entire focus of the conversation was that she needed to get better. She barely once talked about us. I got no closure. And now, trying to talk to her feels like talking to someone I barely know, despite her saying she wants us to stay close. One of the first things she told me when we started talking was how words meant everything to her. They're so important. They should always mean something. She kept saying how much she cared about us, yet her current actions make me feel the complete opposite. I see her online, hanging out with friends, posting online like I never existed, like I was just a footnote in her life. I'm here now. I'm going to try to make the best of the trip, but being alone again hurts so much. I don't understand. Some days the distance felt like nothing, and other days she made the miles so much longer. I really tried so hard, I'm exhausted. I'm getting older, feeling the pressure of finding my person really setting in. I don't want to settle, but I feel like I'm going to have to. I want more than anything to just make things right with her, to go back to that week, and just give her the space she wanted, so we'd be on this trip together right now. I mentioned above that she's very independent, and her anxiety is taking that away from her. She can't do the things she wants with the people she wants, and I understand that. But what about us? I'm devastated. I know a lot of you saw this coming, and the rest of you all wanted to see this work. How do I move on? I know there's probably no saving this, but I wish there was. What can I do? And how do I find anyone like her again? TLDR. Planned another meetup with my long-distance relationship girlfriend. The first one was rough, but this one felt like it was going to be great. We had a rough week and talked a lot about our relationship. However, the day I traveled in, she broke up with me, citing her anxiety as the culprit. I'm not sure what to do now. Important edit here. I've tried local for a few years. I've never had trouble getting dates or matches on apps locally. But I live in a small, rural town and haven't found anyone that aligns with my values and interests. From my experience over years of doing this is that dating locally will be settling, which is why I tried online. There's a bigger city about an hour and a half / 2 hours away. Maybe I'll look there, but the relationship will still be long distance. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for refusing to allow my stepdaughter to use one of my cars and telling her to get a job and buy one instead? My husband and I have a 5-year-old son together, and he has a 18F daughter, Sally, from his previous marriage. Sally is an entitled, manipulative young lady who has spent her entire life milking the child of divorce card in order to make her parents feel bad for her and give her everything she wanted. As a result, she is now a lazy adult, has poor grades in school, no perspective, no job, no desire to get a job or do something with her life. Although my husband and her bio mom are both responsible for how she turned out, instead of coming together and work towards helping her do something, they prefer to blame each other, and they do everything they can to undermine the other one. For example, if my husband punishes Sally by not giving her spending money, her mom will immediately throw money at her. If her mom takes her car away as a punishment, my husband will immediately give her his car to use to go places. It's a very strange dynamic they have, and very different of what he has with me. When I asked him why he is so different in terms of parenting my son with me versus Sally with her bio mom, he said, I am his wife, and I am a normal, sane woman who he can actually communicate with. Whatever. I feel like they are both wrong, but Sally is not my daughter, and I am happy I don't have to spend too much time with her. Now that the summer break started, Sally has the most important problem in the world. Her car broke, and she needs one to use this summer to go places, meet her friends, go to parties, etc. Her mom is not willing to give her car, because she needs it to go to work. My husband needs his car to go to work, and neither of them is willing to buy her a new one. So, Sally the genius found the perfect solution, and asked me to give her one of my cars. To be clear, I have 2 cars. A big SUV that was given to me by my employer, and a smaller one that I use when I go into town, because it's easier to park. I refused, and I told her she can't use any of my car. She insisted and said, I don't need 2 cars at the same time, but she needs one to get around. I told her she is free to use the public transportation, or get a job, and buy one herself. Now Sally is going around to my husband's relatives, complaining that I am trying to exploit her and send her to work. I had a good laugh about this with my husband's sister, but my mother-in-law claims I could have just refused instead of telling her to get a job. I am a little confused what it's so bad about telling an adult to get a job. It's not like I sent a 12-year-old to work for her food or anything. Update. Hello again. Thank you for all the feedback you provided to my previous post. I really appreciate you spent your time to give me some ideas. The majority of you advised me to hide my car's keys, because Sally would most likely try to steal one of my cars when I am not home. You are not far from the truth, because she oftentimes does this with her mother's car, meaning she will take the car when her mom is not home without asking her if she needs it later or ask for permission. So your advice makes a lot of sense. However, I refuse to do such thing in my own home. I believe if I end up in a position to have to hide my things in my own house, we'll have a bigger problem that needs to be solved. Also, where does this stop? Today I have to hide my car keys, later my money, later my purse. This is not the kind of life I want to have, and it never happened to me as a teenager/young adult. When I used to live with my parents, I knew where everything was: car keys, money, documents, jewelry, etc., and I have never taken anything without asking. So after reading the comments from our /board 36090, thank you by the way, I had a good laugh. I decided to follow their advice, but in a less dramatic way. I sat my husband and his daughter down to have a chat. I made it clear in front of my husband that Sally insisted she uses one of my cars, and I do not agree with it. Then I told Sally that I know she sometimes takes her mother's car without asking, and warned her not to dare do something with my cars when I am not home, because if she does, I will call the police and report the car stolen. She was shocked and asked me if I would stoop so low as to report her for stealing just for a car that I don't use or need anyways. I told her it's not me who would stoop so low, but her, because taking something that does not belong to you, especially after being told no, it's the clear definition of stealing. So, yes, I will report it. I think for the first time in her life, she understood there will be consequences for her actions, and she did not protest further. After this, I asked her to clarify in front of my husband how is it that me suggesting she gets a job makes me a person who tries to exploit her, based on what she told my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. My husband had no idea about it and he just exploded. After hearing what happened, he told her it's good that we hear what she talks behind our backs because he will give her even more reasons to complain. My husband told her she will not be seeing any money from him during this summer. Sally started crying and told him he can't do this, but husband told her he can and he will. His responsibility as her parent is to feed her, buy her clothes, and help her pay for school items, but that's it. She is an adult, and if she wants to party or see her friends, she should start paying for it herself since she never appreciated anything she was given. Apparently, this is the hill my husband he is willing to die on, and he even told his ex-wife about his plans, making it clear that if she wants to support Sally's activities this summer, she will have to do it alone, because he will not contribute for anything that's not a necessity. So yeah, this is where we are at now. Sally stormed out of our house, and of course, went to her grandmother to complain. But I am waiting. If mother-in-law opens any discussions about it with me, I will make it clear she is free to support Sally as much as she wants. We are not stopping her.